Kanyon was the reason that the Hurricane or Sugar Shane Helms, got a chance. He found Shane and pushed for Eric Bischoff to sign him. Shane then went on to be part of 3 Count. Part of what else Kanyon did is in the movie Ready to Rumble, he was the stunt double for Oliver Platt's character, the King. I don't remember the other part of the name. And he actually got Shane Helms to do David Arquette's stunt doubling for that movie, for all the wrestling spots. He went on and started a feud with Diamond Dallas Page. After Diamond Dallas Page was out with an injury, and he sold his book and he became Positively Kanyon. Started doing the Diamond Cutter, calling it the Kanyon Cutter. Oh, yeah. He was also Champagne Chris Kanyon, which was more of a sexualized version of the character. And the other thing I remember from WCW is he was part of the Jersey Triad with DDP and Bam Bam Bigelow. He kind of got screwed over when WWE picked up WCW. He was really just a lackey to Diamond Dallas Page's soccer character, and basically just got beat up by Undertaker because they thought Kanyon was Diamond Dallas Page, which they look nothing alike, not even in build. But after that, he really didn't do much with the WWE, and then he lost his life. And Kanyon was definitely a positive figure within the wrestling world. And it sucks to see it get cut this short. And I when I look at the wrestling product now, I only can think WWE and AEW would be a great place for Kanyon to go and help mold the young talent. Because Kanyon was not only good in the ring, he was a good character. If you get a chance on the network, look at Positively Kanyon stuff. It's not a bad character. It's a funny character.
And as far as, at least to my knowledge, and we both obviously pay attention to this business, what a lot of fellow wrestlers come out and say. I have, unless you have, I have never heard a bad word or a negative word towards Kanyon from any of the wrestlers. I can't speak, for every interview out there, everybody, but I personally never heard of anything. And in that business, it's you hear a lot of negativity about different wrestlers, and back, and of course producers, etc. But I don't know if you have heard, but I haven't ever heard of a negative word about most, but mostly I heard positive stuff.
Yeah, I mainly heard positive things. I never really seen an interview where people spoke negatively about Kanyon. I guess you would consider this negative to an extent, but the most negative thing I've ever heard about Kanyon is he was just a tortured soul in that era because he wasn't able to be himself. He was shunned for being a gay wrestler.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, later on, I guess more or less the time frame is.
No, yeah, there wasn't anything negative about it.
Yeah. It was obviously in the world, especially more so at that time. It was not the most accepted thing, and obviously times have changed a little more now. Towards that, with open gay wrestlers, you have other athletes out there as well. I mean, obviously, society is still not obviously totally accepting of that. But talk about as far as people that are out there wrestling, it's now looked at as, we're more family kind of, wrestlers. You know what I mean? So it's, the acceptance of it a little more different now.
Yeah. Exactly. It's more accepted now.
Yeah.
And this is something I referenced to Mark earlier. I have my issues with Jim Cornette, but there's a recent thing I heard that infuriated me. So Lars Sullivan has anxiety. He's been supposedly done with wrestling, but he also got released by WWE. Which one came first? I could not tell you. However, Jim Cornette decides to mock Lars Sullivan's anxiety. Something about, because Lars Sullivan said, he doesn't really eat during TV times because he gets such high anxiety about being on TV, and it was just it was hard for him to do it then. And basically, Cornette took that as, well, I didn't eat because I was busy. Been plenty of times that I would have killed somebody just to have their food, blah blah blah, and mocking him for having anxiety. Oh, your anxiety is so bad you can't eat. You can eat. Catering here, you guys get like a steakhouse, a fancy steakhouse, and you're catering. And if I was still running OVW and they're still having us as a development group, I would have got the snowflake out. You would have never made it to TV in the first place, and things like that. Just being really insensitive to the fact that this guy has a mental health problem.
That's an asshole thing to say.
Yeah, very much so. This guy has a mental health problem where he has anxiety. It makes it very difficult to do something that he pursued as a career for one reason or the other. Yes, he's done some stupid things, and I'm surprised WWE give him as many chances as they have because of the whole anti-gay, homophobic things he said in the past, the very racial things he said in the past, and whatnot. Yeah, I am surprised that WWE kept him on after all that. I will admit that.
I personally was not aware of that. I've only.
It was prior to him being. Huh? It was prior to him being with the WWE. When people caught wind, they just put him on a minor suspension and fined him like $100,000 and kept him around. I actually thought he was done. I thought actually after that he would have been done and out of WWE because WWE, they don't really like that kind of press.
I'm not condoning what he said. I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know the guy at all until he got signed, or at least debuted inside WWE. But I'm not. Could I say once again? I'm not condoning things he had, I guess, said in the subject matters. But still, when you're dealing with a mental health issue, obviously there's issues inside your brain to where and having him once again to chime in like that and say, just leave it alone. It's not.
Yeah, really, it was uncalled for. It's uncalled for. You could talk about being released. You could talk about being surprised that WWE kept him on that long, and I will 100% agree with that. I was very surprised that WWE kept him on for that long. Yeah. However, going after the mental health is not a cool thing. And I remember listening to this, and I'm like, Cornette, and this is slightly political, but it has to do with something he said in the past. Cornette used to talk about the fact that Trump was a bully and the bullies have no place in leadership. Okay, so you can say that, but then you're going to be a bully about a dude with a mental health problem? No.
As we know, a lot of people in the wrestling industry knows, we all know how corny, AKA corny, but Jim Cornette can be, and that's somebody saying a lot of things he says. It's like, really, dude, and it's just, and like I said, I'm not the political side, but it's just more or less how what you just said. It's just more or less how he reacts to so many things in the wrestling industry, of how he can be a jackass, and if you want to speak your mind about what's going on with the storylines or etc. This guy should have been released because he said some things. Okay, but I did hear he did pull no shows. That's a no, and I understand that. You want to say this guy did wrong by doing that, but once again, just like you're saying, mental health. As well as that this is that if you don't have it, at least if you don't have to a severe extent, you're not going to be able to relate to it. So just keep your mouth shut about it, because if you can't feel what that person's feeling, it's you're just not going to understand. So just better off you're getting taught what it feels like, even though you're still not going to really get it until you feel it.
Right. So, yeah, that was something I happened to listen to earlier today, and it just stuck with me. I'm like, this dude.
Oh yeah.
You can't be like that. It's just not something you should be doing.
Once not to go back on myself or anything, mental health, there's times where I would have a tour date or I had to go to a meeting, I had one of those days where this anxiety was a whole lot more severe, and it was hard for me to think, hard for me to move, talk. And it was days where, like, I love what I do, but it's more or less it got me like, man, I was like, I can't travel down the road even an hour. Sometimes there's things where I had to go 2 or 3 states away. I had to go tour day down Florida, or I had to go west, or I had to go on the other side of Tennessee, etc. It was just hard enough to even control that. I think there was one time earlier in my career that I had to cancel a day because I was so mentally sick. I got myself physically sick, and I was not even able to do anything. Period. And that was, as far as the mental health goes, that was the one time earlier in my career that I had to cancel out a show. But I didn't like do a no show. But it's a situation when you're under that, like I said, Lars Sullivan, etc. It's such a harsh thing to deal with. You have someone who can mock it and pick on it. It definitely obviously does not help the situation, and it makes it a whole lot worse too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. It's just, again, it's just not in good faith. We talked about this during the time we were talking about the 2020 wrap up. Another person, Hana Kimura, this was a Japanese wrestler earlier this year. She was only 22. Mm-hmm. She was driven to suicide because of online bullying. And if someone's already near the edge because of what their mental health situation is, and harsh criticisms and bullying like that can push someone to do something like this. And to think that, we're at a place where we are now where we know so much more about this, and honestly, it doesn't seem to be getting any better, and the effects of social media in some ways actually make it a lot worse.
Oh yeah, social media is a cruel place. I mean, it's a good tool to have for businesses and keep on friends, etc. But obviously there's that online. There's online. I was like, jerks out there that what they call it, keyboard warriors, whatever they yeah, that's the word I've been hearing about that. I try not to even pay attention to social media a lot of times, and to our listeners, and as well as in my personal fans for my music, listen to it. It's not like their words are not important, but you hear that there's so much negativity out there. Some days as well as you, anybody else, sometimes I just don't want to go on social media. How much negativity, of course, the bullying can be on there. It's like, I'm not overly sensitive about the things that I can, especially you're in the line of work of being as a singer songwriter, etc. You're gonna hear a lot of negativity. I guess I got pretty thick skin, but there's just those days you just don't care to hear a bunch of BS, and it's hard to deal with that, especially when you have to be on social media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can have a terrible side effect because of the way people can utilize that platform.
I heard. Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
You're gonna say something though. You said also heard what?
Well, it was. I actually seen today that I can't pronounce her first name, but she's Eddie Guerrero, Vicky Guerrero's daughter. She works for AEW.
Raul Guerrero.
Or okay,
Shao.
Shao, that's what it was. Shao. She's taking a break from the wrestling business right now. I've seen I guess she's booked for a number of places, but she had to cancel it because she had to go get some help for her mental health. Mm-hmm. I think it's affecting also her eating. This is the eating disorder related to that, and she decided, she was advised by between people inside the business, inside AEW, of course her mom, I'm sure, family, advised her to take a break. Get yourself some help, which is a good thing. She's not a person that I think it's the day that it was announced she is taking at least a break from wrestling business. I don't know what else she does for work, or that's the only thing. But she said she's taking a break, which I respect that and understand that. So it's not a person that's having a lot of issues right now. There's been a few other people, wrestlers, at least in 2020, that have come out and talk about their different disorders as well. And it's when you're out on the road, being a wrestler, nobody travels on a road quite like a wrestler out there, especially taking the bumps and the bruises. I mean, obviously right now,